everyone, Tisha again. So now I'm going to tell you the story of how Thor passed away. 17, 16, 15th. I think it was March 15th because it was like 2 days before his birthday. It happened late Friday night. It's been a little over a week now. It's been kind of confusing to go from 3 dogs down to just 2. Most people would be like, oh, it's so much easier. No, I've had like 3 dogs for about 4 to 5 years now, and it's kind of very confusing. It's hard, you know. They're all pretty much siblings to me. My dogs are my kids. I have the 2 Pomeranians and a Cocker Spaniel. And one of my Pomeranians died. His name was Thor. He was an orange and cream Pomeranian, so he's like orange on top, cream underneath. I would have showed you a picture on the laptop, but I'm kind of having troubles with that right now. I didn't feel like dealing with it, so there'll be a picture one of these days. So I actually have his son, which is a cream-colored Pomeranian, and so it's kind of hard, you know, because I mean, at least I have his son, you know, but to me they always seem like brothers, like the sibling rivalry. Anyway, so what had happened is he either had like a brain aneurysm or a stroke or a neurological disorder. The vets kind of weren't sure. What had happened that night is my dogs go everywhere with me all the time. I went to TJ Maxx, and I went to Target. I wasn't in those stores very, very long. And I came out, got in the car, and I was like, wow, they're like really tired. I heard one of them breathing a little different, a little heavier, and I was just like, wow, they're just really tired. And at first I thought it was Spike in the front seat, and then I got to listening, and I was like, oh, it's Thor. Okay, and it just sounded like, you know, maybe his neck was like push on something. You know how like if you lie on your neck all wrong, your breathing's gonna change, you know? And him being a Pomeranian with the collapsed trachea and stuff like they have, I was like, oh, okay, it's just really tired. And then we drove across the street to the Little Caesars. I waited for my pizza, and then while I was waiting, I was like, oh, why don't I feed the dogs? So I get the food out, and then I was like, you guys want to eat? And they get all excited. And then I was like, Thor, Thor. I kept calling his name, and he didn't come out. And I tried to reach, he was in the passenger back seat, and I tried to reach around to see if I can feel him, and I couldn't. And I was like, wow, he must really be way down in between everything, you know, because I had a bunch of stuff in the car. I opened the door, and it kind of fell right out, landed kind of all twisted, and I was just like shocked, and I was like, okay. And when I picked him up, his one eye was kind of off, and the other eye was kind of like moving a little different, and he kind of just rolled his head back, and I was just like, oh my gosh. And I thought he just hurt his spine a little bit. He kind of has pinched nerves in his back, so if you have pinched nerves, you know how if you move wrong, it just like hurts, and sometimes it's for a few minutes, and sometimes it's kind of like a kink for a while. He would get that occasionally. He has problems in his knees and his hips, and he was just shy of 2 days of being 2 days of being 6 years old. So that's still pretty young. He had a very troubled past. I'm gonna write a book about his life, and I'll share that with you whenever I get that done. It's probably, I'm not sure when I'll get that done. You know, it's going to be a memory book, but it's going to be all about him and his life and everything. I'm really looking forward to start that project, even though I got like 5 million other projects I never have time for. I just don't always get motivated, or I get wrapped up into it, and then I gotta go. I'm trying to work on that stuff. Anyways, so I picked him up, you know, after he had rolled out of the car, and he just seemed kind of out of it, and then I kind of like held him up. This is my little Franklin Lammy Doodle. So he's gonna kind of demonstrate. So you know, dogs like this normally with his legs, and so I picked him up like this, and usually when you would pick him up like this would relax down and his spine would realign. It's just something we would do. and when he did that, he just rolled his head back, and his eye was going off to one side. It just didn't seem right. It just seemed kind of abnormal for him. He's kind of had similar episodes like that, but not as long. And so I just was holding him, and of course, right then the pizza was ready. So I go pick up go grab the pizza from the guy, get back in the car, and I'm like, okay, maybe he just needs some fresh air. Go lie him on something flat. We went across the street to the park. I lied him on his side. Try to rub his spine a little bit. Try and get the blood flow. I'm thinking he's just got a kink. Roll him on his other side, do the same, kind of just wait it out. He's not really moving much. I'm starting to notice his limbs are starting to get a little not as sensitive, so it's worrying me, and I'm thinking maybe he's getting like hypoglycemic now, because Pomeranians kind of have a thing about that where they do get hypoglycemic. So I'm like, you know, we did bunch during the day. I mean, he went to the dog park, he went to the pet store, everything seemed fine all day, you know, so it wasn't anything to have brought this on. So I run in the car, take him into the car, and rub some sugar on his gums, because that's all I had that was like calories, you know, to get him going. I tried to give him a little bit of water. Nothing was really working. He just kind of seemed like he was... like, I kind of knew he was dying. I've worked with a lot of pets and known their time and seen them at the end, so that's kind of what I thought it was, and kind of just saw that happening, and it was just like, you know, God, don't take my dog now. Of anything, just don't take my dog. You know, how much I've been through in the last year and a half, and especially the last few months, you know, you don't, you know, and so that was really hard. Knowing he was going and that you can't help him, and even knowing to take him to the vet and how expensive that emergency vet bill would be, and that they couldn't save him. So I ran over to the kennels I used to work at, because they had a vet they could call up, and so it would have been a little bit lower cost, and he was failing. He was having trouble breathing, so I rushed him to the emergency vet. And when I brought him in, I was like, I think my dog is dying. And, you know, they took him for a minute to the back, and they came out, got his history. I talked to him about what had happened, and they said, yeah, I think it's just best to have him, you know, put to sleep. So, of course, you know, I had to have him put to sleep. It just kind of happened so fast, and it was kind of very odd and just so random. And, you know, he was so young, and... that pretty much was it. So before this cuts off, I think that's all I had to say about that. I've talked about it a lot to different people, so that's why I'm not like totally gushing and crying now. Today I picked up his ashes, because I have all of my pets cremated, and so I'm going to do another video kind of about that in just a few minutes. Alright, bye.